Okay, some of you that know me online on Facebook and some of the groups are aware that I use a lot of Van Gogh and Cotman paint, and those are considered studio grade or student. Some people call them student grade. They don't advertise it as student grade on their websites. They call it studio grade. I am guessing that probably the binder in the Cotman is maybe different than what's in Winsor Newton's professional line. I'm not sure, but I've done this comparison before with the diaxazine or diaxazine. It's a purple. They call it in the professional line. They call it Winsor Violet, and on the Cotman information they call it the diaxazine purple. So I'm going to show you the difference in those again real quick, and then I have a couple more comparisons that I've done today, pulled up the information on for you so you can kind of get an idea. And I just felt like this was really a remarkable difference. Their light fastness, that's a big glob. Okay. All of the information and the chemical makeup of it is exactly the same. I literally could not detect any difference on paper. That is the Winsor Newton Winsor Violet. I mean, the colors are the same. I don't really see any difference in the... Now, I will say maybe there's a little bit more pigment. I'm not sure though, because it's really hard knowing how much I'm picking up of each one on the palette. That had more water in that time. Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to go with probably the Winsor Violet from the professional line. Has a little more pigment. I wouldn't say it's a detectable amount. I work in very light layers, so I would never notice, or that wouldn't bother me. But I can't remember how much I paid for this little guy. Probably around $5 or $6, maybe more. And I got this gigantic tube. It's 21 milliliters for, I think, around $4. So this is 5 mil compared to 21 mil. It's just a really, really good savings. Now, I think what I'll do next, I've put out some colors, and this is the Cotman Intense Blue, and I just ordered it because I wanted to see what it was. It's transparent, it's light fast, it's got a great permanence rating, and the pigment is PB15. So let's see what that looks like on paper. I mean, it's just a beautiful transparent color. I love that. So I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of use out of this. Now in the professional line, and I'll be putting some information about that in the video. In the professional line, the Winsor Blue and Red shade is a PB15. It's transparent, and it appears to be the same exact color. The same as with the Winsor Violet and the Dioxazine. So that's a lovely color. It's transparent, and I'm sure I'm going to love using them. Alright, the next one that I have is the Intense Green. Again, a gigantic tube. Probably never use that all up. I wanted something that was kind of like just a grass green. I did a fish the other day, and I think I'm probably going to do some more fish. So that's a really, really pretty color. I really like that. And it is, now this is staining, which means if you put it down like I just did on the paper and try to lift it, you're not going to be able to lift all the color off your paper. The best way to get around that if you're using a staining color is to wet your paper first, and it won't stain as deeply. I'll show you picking up a little bit of the pigment. I mean, it doesn't stain too bad, but, and then again, I'm using an inexpensive wood pulp paper here, and so that's probably having some bearing on it. With the arches that I normally use, it probably would like absorb that and hold on to the color a little harder. And I have compared that to the pigment in that is the PG36. It has a great light fast rating, and it's transparent. And it has the same pigment as the Winsor green yellow shade in their professional line. And I'll be putting that information in their video for you as well. The next one I have, I guess I didn't put it on my palette. I could find nothing in their oranges or even their kind of orange colored reds that matched this. It is using two pigments. It's PY83 and PO43. It's transparent. Basically, the main thing is it's not a synthetic, because you don't know how, that's what's happening with the Opera Rose by Winsor Newton. I believe it has a synthetic in it, and it's not light fast, and so, I mean, literally it's just not going to last. This has, let me see what the permanence rating is, an A. It's very permanent, and it's a transparent paint. But like I said, I could not find anything in their professional line that used that combination of pigments, so I'm just going to put this out here. If any of you need a nice transparent kind of orangish yellow, that's a great choice. All right, and the next one I have, and because I was trying these out, I just got the small tubes because I think the large ones weren't available, or else I bought the large ones because the small weren't available. That's probably more like the way it went, because I hadn't tried them yet. But anyway, this is the Viridian Hue. And it's a really pretty color. I like that a lot. Let me get the page up for it here so I can tell you about it. Okay, it is staining, and it is very light fast, and the pigment that's used in it is the PG7, and of course it's transparent. Now I've compared that to the professional, their professional line of the Winsor Newton. It's the one that's called Winsor Green, and the Winsor Green is using the same pigment, and it has all of the same information on the card about it, which I will be posting in the video. So I hope this has cleared up any kind of confusion over what some, and I mean, I do a lot of research on the colors before I buy them to make sure that they're light fast, that they're transparent, and that what pigment's used in it. And I always feel very, very safe when I'm using anything from Winsor Newton in their Cotman line, and the same with Royal Talons and the Van Gogh line, because they use their professional pigments. What they do though is pigments have grades, and it's like a series 1 would be the least expensive pigment, and series 2 would be just a little more expensive, and then the series 3 and 4, you will never find those pigments in the studio grades because they are expensive. And that's just that what they put in their professional paint, that's like sometimes $15 and up to purchase. So, I mean, if you find a shade like that and you want it in a studio grades are always a very limited amount of color, and because they're only using the series 1 and 2 pigments. So I hope this sheds some light on information on the background of what goes into watercolor paint and why. And I know I had a lot of questions when I started out and trying to figure out what all of it meant. So I'm hoping this just clarified that a little bit for you. Thanks a lot.